Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome to another running session. So since I'm doing an American week at the moment, it's probably quite easy to guess which kind of loco I'm going to be running today. And this is an idea that gets requested all the time, especially when I talk about American locos. So I've been asked this question for years and years, will you do an American running session? And today, for the first time, the answer is yes. So all sorts of different American locos, I've got them all set up around me, so I can't wait to get them working and running for you. I really hope you enjoy them. Let's get started. We're going to go to the turntable first of all with the first loco of the day. Alright, so if you saw my last review, you will only just have seen this particular loco, but I just can't get enough of it. So it is, of course, the new York Hudson, and I absolutely love it. And yes, it looks pretty large sitting there on the turntable, doesn't it? Now, I did mention this briefly during my review of this model, but the one issue I do have with American locos is, of course, rolling stock. Now, the vast amount of my rolling stock is British rolling stock. I do have a little bit of American rolling stock, but certainly not enough to fill an entire running session. Now, the obvious solution is obviously to just wait until I've got enough, but it might be months or even years before I come across any more. And to be honest, since the bulk of my models, since the bulk of my locos are British ones, there's not a massive demand really for American rolling stock. So if it is something that bothers you, and I know most people it won't, but if it does, just imagine that these are American locos coming over to visit my British Heritage Model Railway and hauling the British rolling stock that I've got over here. That's not going to be the case all day today. I have got some American rolling stock that's going to be running, but for example, this Hudson is going to be hauling these sheath material box vans, or box cars as you'd call them in America, which are quite dangerously parked on the middle line there. So here's a little bit of history on the Hudsons. I know you've heard this already, but I might as well tell you a little bit about them while I get her shunted onto her load. So let's do this, and I hope you like seeing her run. And wham! I've just realised that the old Hudson is a little too big to actually get turned on the turntable, so I've had to just move track. Sorry. Okay, let's try again. Okay, so as you probably know, the New York Central Hudsons were a class of high-speed 464 passenger locomotives first introduced in 1927. They were, of course, named after the Hudson River, and these engines became pretty well known for hauling some of New York Central's best-known passenger services, including the 20th Century Limited. And a massive 275 of these Hudsons were built between 1927 and 1931. But of course, just like most classes of loco, shortly after the introduction of diesels, they were all withdrawn and they were all scrapped with none preserved, very sadly. Alright, so she's been going tender first now for nearly a whole lap, but she's very nearly there. So let's see if we can't couple to these wagons. There we are. Let's bring her forwards a little bit, just see if she's coupled. There we are, right. Well, let's see how that looks then. Obviously, this is a passenger locomotive, so it's a little unrealistic, perhaps, to have her running with boxcars. But either way, I don't think it looks too bad, does it? There we go, let's focus her in. So just to see how this looks, just to get used to it a little bit, we'll let her do a lap of honour with these boxcars, and then we'll get some of the other engines out and start filling up the other lines. There we are, nice and gently does it. She's actually very, very powerful, very heavy, so these box vans, or box cars as I should call them today, shouldn't give her any problems at all. And nope, she does seem to be pulling those quite nicely. Alright, let's see how she goes. So what do you reckon to that then? American loco hauling some British rolling stock. British freight, in fact. Yeah, one of my stranger ideas, I think, isn't it? But either way, it looks good to me. Yeah, it is cracking, isn't it, that one? Absolutely cracking. And a good puller as well. That's not too shabby, is it? That's not too bad. Ah, yes. And also, if you like massive steam engines, or relatively massive steam engines compared to the British ones at least, then stay tuned because I think you'll quite enjoy it today. We've got a few smaller ones, don't worry, they're not all massive, but there's at least two other really big ones that I'm going to show today. One I'm sure you'll be able to guess, the other I've never shown before, so it should be a bit of a surprise for you. I hope so. There we go. Let's bring that to a stop then. Yeah, you could tell she was itching to go faster there as a passenger loco. But no, either way, she still looks the part as a freight engine, I think, although I'm sure some might disagree. So there we go, there's a nice close-up on her. She's number 127 from the Chicago-Milwaukee-St. Paul Pacific Railroad, which is a mouthful, but very, very nice it is nonetheless. Okay, so she's going to stay there for just a second. She'll be running again a little bit later on, but for now we're going to move on to a loco that you might have spotted before on the channel, but I've never ever run it before, so this is going to be a bit of a first. Let's head over to the other sidings and I'll show you. So take a look at that then for an unusual looking loco. So this is a 260 Mogul and it's known as a Camelback locomotive. Now if you've never heard of the phrase Camelback before, stay tuned and I'll tell you a little bit about what that means later on. But yes, as you can see, quite an unusual looking loco. Now, little quiz question for you. As you can see, the livery on this is B&O Railroad. See if you can guess in the poll what B&O stands for. We have come across it before, I think, on the channel, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see if people can figure that one out. It's actually no good searching up the Camelback locomotive, though, because apparently the livery on this, according to my good friend Andrew Keeley, apparently the livery on this is completely fictional, or not fictional, but it doesn't match the loco, which is something that supposedly Mahano did quite a lot of. Okay, so rolling stock then. Now, if you could you might be able to see just over the roof of the factory there, that we do have some American boxcars on this train, which is quite interesting. But if we look a little bit further back, keep going past through the engine shed, you can see there's also some British rolling stock coupled to this train. So that is taking the phrase mixed train to a whole new level. So let's get this Camelback out then, and we'll let it do a few laps. And while it does, I'll tell you a little bit about Camelbacks. So, generally speaking, Camelback is the name given to locomotives whose cabs are in the centre of the engine rather than at the back, as is traditional, certainly for British locos. So, with Camelback engines, they tended to have very wide fireboxes, and because of that, it was more practical to mount the cab in front of the firebox in the centre of the engine, and thus the Camelback was born. Now, all kinds of different Camelback existed with various different wheel configurations, including 040s, 060s, there were some 080s, there were some 260s, of course, among many others. Now, as a 260, this model seems to bear strong resemblance to several different Camelback 260 designs, including ones from Elizabethport Shops, Dickinson and Cook, all built around the turn of the 20th century, more or less. Now, I can't say for sure which one this model specifically resembles, if any at all. It might have just been an approximation, as Mahano did do that sometimes. So there we are then, the Camelback. What a cool looking locomotive. Let's bring that to a stop. So yeah, let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see me review this, and perhaps I will do. But yes, there we go, there's a close-up. I suppose they get the name Camelback because the cab's in the middle there, of course, and it gives it a big hump right in the middle. The weird thing is, though, of course, it has got a cab on the back as well, although I think that's, yes, I think that's where the fireman would be to shovel the coal into the firebox, and then you'd have the engineer or the driver in the middle there. So I suppose communication would be pretty interesting with those, but either way, a very, very cool model. Alright, so the third loco of today should be coming out from behind the bookcase any second now, so let's head over there now and go and catch it, shall we? Okay, so here we have a Pacific, as you can see. I do love Pacific. So this is a 462. I will tell you a little bit about it. As you can see, it's in the Pennsylvania livery. Not sure how accurate this one is either, but it has got some American boxcars, as you can see. So hopefully you'll enjoy seeing this with some proper American rolling stock. So once again, it is unclear which real-life locomotive this is based on, if any at all. However, it does seem to resemble the Wabash class J1 and J2, which were built from 1912 to 1920. Now, around 16 of these powerful J1 and 23 J2 locomotives were built in total, and they featured Stephenson valve gear, and the largest of them weighed in at approximately 113 tons. So definitely a bit of a grumpy engine, that one, if I just bring it to a stop. In fact, if I run it backwards, you hear just how grumpy this one is. Right, you ready? You listening? I'll get close. Ooh, yes, a bit grindy, that one. I think it's, let's just say it's had quite a lot of running it seems, in its life, and the old gears seem a little bit worn. So I'm not exactly sure what's the matter with it. It seems to run absolutely fine. It just sounds a little bit dodgy. I have had the thing apart and had it serviced and whatnot. It is fine. I think it's just wear and tear. I think it's getting old. I think it's getting worn. But until it breaks down, I'm going to keep running it like that. But when it eventually does fail, I'll have to look at replacing the gear set or something like that. But either way, it shouldn't be too much of a major headache. So let's get these three going then. This is really cool. I've been enjoying this so far. There we go, there's the Pacific. We have the Hudson, also with freight. So it's been a very freight-oriented running session so far. And we will get some passenger stock running later on. But for the time being, enjoy the freight. Let's get all this going at the same time. Very cool. So let me know what you think so far. To be honest, I've really enjoyed this. Some people say, oh, American locos are ugly. And some of them are. Yeah, don't get me wrong, some of them are. But I can't really say that these are particularly. I wonder if some people might find the Camelback ugly. Tell you what, let's put up a poll. Is the Camelback ugly or is it not? I would be interested to know what you think. And I have got some American rolling stock running, of course. And I found all this stuff quite cheap at a train fair, these box cars at least. I only paid a few pounds each for them, and so finally they've come into good use. Of course, the Camelback's had its train topped up a little bit though with some British rolling stock, which is okay. Just makes it a bit longer, and actually that's quite a big train, isn't it, for a 260? It's only sort of medium size. It's not a massive engine, is it? One day we'll have to do a proper test on this Hudson and see how many sort of wagons it can haul. I think it'd be quite a lot. There seems to be quite a lot of torque there at least. There we got the mighty Hudson again. Try and get a shot of it going up Gordon's Hill, shall I? There we go. So while we wait for the Camelback to make another appearance, that's going to be about the end of the first half. I'm now going to put these back into the sidings, as I usually do on these running sessions. Oh, by the way, look at that lamp. You can see the lamp working on the front of the Camelback. So I'll put these back into the sidings, and then we'll get ready to run the second half of the running session with yet more American engines. And there's even a couple more that I've never shown before. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back. Alright, cheers folks. Alright then, so the first three American trains are safely back into their sidings, as you can see, and now we're ready to move on to the next loco, which is one that I have never shown on this channel before. So here it is a 482, which is quite an unusual wheel configuration, and it is Canadian National 6060, and yes, it's another quite large loco, this one. So I'll tell you a bit more about it in just a second. As you can see, she's going to be hauling some British rolling stock. She's got some Southern coaches, which are sort of roughly colour matched with her, so I thought that would be quite nice. She's got to do a little bit of shunting to get all of these coaches together, because there's 5 in total, so we will do that now. Let's see if she can do it. Well, let's give it a run. First ever run on the channel. Give it a little power. There we are, creeping forwards quite nicely. Now, I'm just going to stop it there, because it looks like the tender's not connected properly. I don't know how that's happened. That's quite annoying. But yeah, you don't want to be pulling the tender along with the wire, because that's generally not a good idea. So bear with me. There we are. Well, take 2 then, shall we? No idea what happened there. I could have sworn I put that in properly earlier. Obviously I didn't. Okay. No idea how this one behaves on point work yet. But that didn't seem too rough, did it? That seemed reasonably okay. So we just need to wait for that back coach there to get past the set of points it's on at the moment, and it has, so we can stop that there, switch the direction, just flip this point here, there we are, and if all goes to plan, none of this will derail where we get them coupled. So here we are, back it up nice and steady. I must say it's a good controllable loco, this one. There, right, well, can it haul 5 coaches? It's a pretty massive engine, so I would hope so. Let's see. Yep, seems to be shifting those quite nicely. So this is an express passenger loco, as you can probably imagine, so let's get it going nice and fast. And here's a little history behind it. So at last, here we have a Mahano loco with a definite real-life basis. So in real life, number 6060 was a Class U-1-F mountain-type locomotive built in 1944. Now the mountain type was made up of 20 examples which were ordered during the Second World War, and before very long most of these were converted to oil firing rather than traditional coal, which did result in a change of tender. Now also supposedly the distinctive cone-shaped firebox door was also removed over time as well, though luckily this model doesn't seem to depict either of these alterations and it shows the loco in more or less original condition. So there we are folks, I hope you enjoyed seeing that one. That's another loco that I've still got to review, but I look forward to it whenever I decide to do it. So there you go, Canadian National 6060, what a beast. Okay, let's move on then. We'll pick a bit of a smaller loco, I think, up next to contrast this one a little bit. So let's go over to the sidings again and take a look and see which one that is. Okay, so this is one that you might be a little bit more familiar with if you've seen my channel quite a bit. So this is my Baltimore and Ohio 440 locomotive. I really do love this one, and yeah, when I thought about doing an American running session, this is the one I thought of. I thought, yeah, this has got to be in it. So I've given her the only rolling stock really that she's compatible with. She's got the sort of knuckle coupler type thing, and these wagons also do these hoppers. So I thought I would put those with her just so we don't have any problems with the couplings. And yeah, she looks quite nice with those, I reckon. Not too bad overall. So with that, we'll get this started straight away. As I say, I don't think there's any specific basis for this particular loco in real life, but I will give you a little bit of the history of the American 440s in general, because they are quite interesting things, aren't they? So let's get this started then and see how it goes. And I'm going to shunt her over onto the middle line. So over in the USA, the 440 was always a very popular design. It originated as far back as 1836 when the first 440 example was built to the design of Henry Campbell. By the 1870s, the vast majority of American steam were in fact 440s. Now over the years, the American type, as it's also known, was developed and improved, and they also grew considerably in size as time went on. But by the time the 20th century began to approach, much greater power was desperately needed, and so the 440s began to wane in popularity a little bit, although of course some railroads did continue to use the type for lighter duties. Now once again, as you can probably imagine, this loco doesn't appear to resemble any 440 in particular, although just by looking at it, it does seem to be based on a later 440 design as opposed to an earlier one. Ah, right, there she is then, my lovely Baltimore and Ohio 440. Whether or not she's realistic, I'm not absolutely sure, but either way, I can't help but really like this one. So there it is, there's a nice little close-up just to finish off with. There is one more engine still to bring out though, so let's go ahead and see which one that is. It is a bit of a veteran on my channel, lots of people like this one. So let's head over and take a look. So it's another big one. I'm sure you've probably caught a glimpse of it already during today's running session, but it is my lovely Bachmann Southern Pacific GS4, and yes, it's possibly the largest loco we've run today. An old favourite this, I did review it a long while ago and it got quite a few views, so quite a popular loco this. Anyway, in the spirit of the heritage railway running that we're doing today, she's coupled to some Great Western coaches, as you can see, there's 5 of those, so that's quite a nice train for her I think. I'm not sure that one of these has ever hauled Great Western coaches before, so I think that will be really odd and a little bit original as well, so we'll see how that goes. But for now, this is a very large engine on some very small and tight points. I don't know what's going to happen with this. I can imagine that there's going to be some sort of derailment, but we've been lucky before, so we'll try it. Just cross your fingers, because I don't know what's going to happen here. Not to mention the coaches. Well, it all seems to be still on the track for the time being, but we've still got a few more coaches still to come out. Wow, I caught a miracle on camera there. No derailments. I think that's probably the first time ever. It's a very rare occurrence, that. So the GS4s were built by the Lima Locomotive Works between 1941 and 1942 for use on the Southern Pacific Railroad. The type became very well known in the end thanks to its streamlining, eye-catching paintwork and its capability of extremely high speeds. Now, while the class were mostly seen in this daylight livery, which is orange, red and black, a handful were painted black during the war years, and I think there is one very special livery. I can't remember much about it, but if you look it up, I'm sure you'll be able to find it on Google or whatnot. Now, the GS4s did have extremely short working lives though, and the final passenger trains were hauled by the type in 1958, so not very long at all. Now, although 28 were produced in total, only one remains in preservation, and that is number 4449. So there we go then folks, that is all 6 American locos that I'm going to be showing today, and I do hope I showed some of your favourites. In fact, I've got enough American locos probably to do another session like this. But either way, do let me know in the poll which was your favourite of the locos I showed today. And I've no idea which will win. I think it might be the Daylight. But I've been proved wrong before, so do be sure to vote in that poll and we'll see which one comes out on top. Okay, so let's have one final run then with all these engines, well, with these final 3 anyway, and yes, I hope you enjoy it, as always. There we go, I've got 2 engines made friends here. Look at that. Ooh, it looks like Canadian Nationals just stealing up on it a little bit. I'd love to know what they're saying. I hope they're not talking about me. Oh, that's quite nice. Quite like it when 2 engines run side by side. I didn't set that up on purpose, but it's cool that it worked out that way. I'm just lingering here because I'm waiting for Mr. Daylight. Here he comes. Don't know why I've decided that Mr. Daylight is a he and not a she, but either way, I suppose it would be a she, wouldn't it? Lovely thing though, isn't it? Absolutely huge, and I do like the sort of semi-streamlined nature of it too. It's very cool looking. I think that might be my favourite today, by the way, the Canadian National 6060. I don't know, there's just something about that one. I love the slightly streamlined shape and also the livery. It's quite cool, that. Second favourite, probably, for me at least, would be the 440. But like I say, I have no idea what others are going to choose. So we'll just have to wait and see. But they're all quite nice, aren't they? I think they've all got their own pros and cons. I wonder how well the Camelback will do. I really don't know how people are going to take to that one. Alright then folks, well thank you for joining me, taking a look at these American locos, and overall I hope you enjoyed American Week. I think next time we'll look at some other locos, maybe some more British stuff, or maybe some European locos. Ooh, there we go. And rolling stock, of course. But either way, that's American Week for you. I think more American locos will be coming up pretty soon. Although, of course, if you are a purely British train lover, that's absolutely fine as well. I will be doing lots more of those in the future. I'm not going entirely American from now on. So, yeah, don't panic. But for a change at least, I do hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And, you know, I might do it again one day, just because I've got a few other American engines that I might want to showcase. But for the time being, thank you for your company, thank you for watching, and I will see you all very soon. Cheers, everybody.